Welcome back to Washington Watch. I'm Joseph Backholm, sitting in for Tony today. Boston Children's Hospital claims to have the first pediatric transgender surgery center in the country, with web videos that boast it offers, quote, a full suite of surgical options for transgender teens, end quote. As reported in the Post Millennial, the venerable hospital promotes their surgeries through a video series on their official YouTube channel. Perhaps most disturbingly, though patients as young as 17 can receive surgery that involves the removal of their genitals, a doctor at the hospital hinted in a published email that he could be flexible when it comes to the age for performing such a surgery. Joining me now to discuss her publication's reporting on the Boston Children's Hospital and the danger it poses to children is Libby Emmons, editor-in-chief of the Post Millennial. Libby, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate the work that you have done on this. What has your research found about what Boston Children's is trying to do?
Yeah, so this was reporting done by Christina Buttons, who's one of our reporters, and she did a great job with this report. She uncovered several things. One, that the doctors will perform what's called a vaginoplasty on young males who are 17. To receive a phalloplasty, you have to be 18. To receive a double mastectomy, 15 is permissible. And she also did uncover that a doctor at the center is willing to perform surgeries on younger teens so long as they have parental consent.
How unusual is this in the medical field broadly?
Well, you'd think that it's very unusual, but when you start digging around, you find that there are definitely cases of 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-old girls who undergo these voluntary double mastectomies. They are believed to have given consent, and their parents approve of the procedure. And it certainly happens. In many cases, it's covered by insurance. There's actually a doctor in California, Johanna Holson Kennedy, who has said that if you cut your breasts off when you are young, you can just get new ones later, and that it's not really that big a deal. Some of the clinics that do this are in Texas. It's actually rather shocking. And there are not really that many statistics being collected as to how frequently these kinds of surgeries are performed on teenagers.
Now, Jeremy Carswell is the director of Gender Multi-Specialty Services at Boston Children's Hospital and had this to say about the children that they operate on and experience gender dysphoria. Let's play clip 2.
A child will often know that they are transgender from the moment that they have any ability to express themselves, and parents will often tell us this. We have parents who tell us that their kids, they knew from the minute they were born practically, and actions like refusing to get a haircut or standing to urinate, trying to stand to urinate, refusing to stand to urinate, trying on siblings' clothing, playing with the, quote, opposite gender toys, things like that.
What's your reaction to this idea that what you want to do when you go to the bathroom or your haircut is evidence that we're going to destroy your reproductive system, essentially?
I think this is absolutely a horror. It's literally everything that the feminist movement was attempting to fight against when they were saying, hey, we're women. That doesn't necessarily mean we're super feminine. We can exist however we want. If you look at kids who, now my age, when we were kids, we all wore overalls and played in the mud. And this was not at all unusual behavior for girls. It's really, really shocking to see doctors claim that the way a child behaves and expresses themselves means that they are entirely uncomfortable in their bodies and need to be sterilized and never experience regular sexual function for their entire lives.
Yeah, and you make that point well, that one of the primary arguments of the feminist movement is that girls don't have to play with a certain kind of toy.
Right.
Yet here we have a doctor making the argument that if you play with a certain kind of toy, that's evidence that you are not a girl. And so those are clearly contradictory messages. Now, this YouTube series that you highlighted and is the kind of the basis of your report here has been removed by Boston Children's Hospital.
Right.
I actually tried to go find those videos and watch them. Why would they remove them if they're proud of the work that they're doing?
Because they know that this is absolutely unpalatable to most of the American public. They know that for most parents to hear that if their daughter likes to play with trucks and their son likes to play with dolls, this means that they should be sterilized, is probably ridiculous and horrifying sounding as it is. But if you actually dig in, you can find certainly testimonials on Boston Children's Hospital's website from, these profiles that were made of children who have partaken of the services, who have gone on puberty blockers, where families have moved entirely across the country in order to engage in this butchery for their children under the belief that they are doing something right for their kids, probably not even aware of the intense harm and life-lasting problems that are being caused by this. If you look into some of these surgeries, the complications are insanely huge with, young women in their 20s now using colostomy bags with half of their arms cut off, the flesh of their arms cut off, in order to make these false appendages that are not functioning in any conceivable way. The idea that we need to change our bodies to appear as the opposite sex in order to feel comfortable in our own skin is, I think, entirely anathema to the entire 20th century project.
I think that's exactly right. And it's also worth noting that those who have these surgeries remain 20% more likely than the general population to attempt suicide. So this is not the loving thing to do for people. But Libby Emmons, thank you for your time today and your research on this.
Thank you so much.